Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in the F-14B, we're in the RIO seat, so we're in the back, and we're doing a cockpit tour. This is where we go through and look at basically all of the controls within kind of medium detail. And we start from the left, work our way to the front dash, all the way across the front dash to the right, and finish off there. It's going to take about an hour or so. First thing to specify is that this is a high fidelity model, obviously, so 95+% of the controls are interactive actively or passively. I've got my buddies Stahl and Tebra here, who are both Rios, who are going to help me out if I get stuck. Other than that, we're going to get sorted, boys. So we're going to get started. So we're going to go to the left. I'm going to lock myself in position there. Stand by. Pow. So the first control I've got is the oxygen on and off, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Something we need. Next we've got the ICS, the intercommunication system. We can change the volume. God, it's a while since I studied this. We've got the radio override, so cold mic means that we have to press the push to talk for the RIO to talk on the intercom, isn't it? The pedal. It's a pedal, isn't it, chaps?
Yeah, it's the left pedal.
Roger. Hot mic means that we don't need to push a pedal at all, and you can always communicate. This is communicating to the front pilot, by the way. Hot mic means you can always communicate to the front pilot without pressing the pedal. Radio override means that the ICS overrides the ARC 189 and 182 and 159 radios. Regards to the button in the center, I remember now we've got a normal not transmitter, amplifier. We've got a backup amplifier on the left in case that goes, and in emergency, if both amplifiers go for some reason, then this is for the ICS. Then we can actually hook onto the pilot's amplifier, but certain RIO specific tones won't work in that case.
Isn't it always like one-way communication or something?
On emergency?
A bit rusty on that, but
no,
I don't know. There was some stuff that only worked one way, I think.
No,
I've used the emergency one actually, because when you get shot, the intercom is the first thing that breaks every time.
That's interesting. Didn't know that. Okay. Right, next, I'm not sure what this panel is really called, but we can change whether the RIO is using the ARC 159, both radios, or the ARC 182. The ARC 182 is this one in the back here. Do we want to use the upper antenna or the lower antenna? Well, that's not actually modelled in DCS, so it doesn't matter. We've got the UHF1 volume, so that's the 159, the volume that you can hear in here. We've got the KV or KY mode. Now, this is encryption, isn't it, chaps? KY?
Yeah.
So it's not modelled, yeah?
And one thing to note is that in DCS, the both selection doesn't work.
In sorry, what are we talking about? The radios.
Yeah, radio selection. You select one, you can't select both.
Yeah, well, I've never really understood why you wanted both. Anyway, why are you going to talk on both radios? It never made sense to me, because you're not going to have them both tuned into the same thing, are you? But all right, fair enough. Next, we've got the TACAN commander. It's very simply whether I'm going to have to zoom in here. Hang on. It's whether we want the pilot to be in control of the TACAN command or the NFO, which is the RIO. So let me lock that back in position. Whoops. Okay, I'm doing well on my own, aren't I, chaps? I've studied so many hours studying this RIO position. I'm never going to use it, but next, CAP.
That's a shame, it's good fun.
Yes, I know, but well, maybe we'll get a chance at some point. Next, the CAP, guys. Is it the command address panel or the combat address panel? Can we remember? No one remembers that shit. It's called the KAP.
I think it's computer address panel, but I don't take my word for it.
Yeah, Roger, you're probably really right. So we've got a keypad up here, obviously, where we enter our buttons, either for requesting information or entering information, and some of them have got like heading, speed, and obviously we've got several videos on this. Next we have the category drum indicator, and we can have it in built-in tests, special navigation, tactical data, which is navigation as well, really, datalink or targeting data, and you can hook various things like host. You can hook it by pressing the button here, and that's all to do with interacting with the TID, which we'll have a look at later. Out of interest, you've got another couple of buttons here. You've got CAP program restart. That is Control Alt Delete. That's a reboot of the current program in case of crash. These were not crash-proof computers, which incidentally were invented 10 years before this. If we go to the other side, we've got CAP Tung Numb, and that's not implemented. Okay, next we're going to jump back, kind of what I'd describe as kind of, back again to the outside, and I've got something here that I've never seen before. What is it? It's a storage. It's literally just a storage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's for maps and briefing stuff.
Never seen that before. Pretty cool.
So where your lantern equipment goes if you install that.
Oh, it's where the lantern goes, isn't it? Yeah, right. And that'll explain why I've not seen that before. Right, we've got millions of circuit breakers. They're all kind of modelled in terms of graphics, but none of them are pressable. Thank God, because that would be a friggin' nightmare. There are so many systems.
They're gonna work on that though, yeah. They're gonna slowly implement more and more circuit breakers.
No, that's too much, guys. That's too much. That's the boundary between fun and autism, surely. Well, alright. Fair enough. So the thing about this aircraft is it's the most complicated fighter for its time, wasn't it? If not still the most complicated really in terms of workload for the humans. So there's so many systems on it. Because we're doing some research, it's because it was a naval fighter, and a lot of these systems it's got are redundancy systems because you have to have these redundancy systems as a naval fighter. So it's almost over-designed. Anyway, let's stop babbling. Right, I'm going to try to zoom in here. We've got, I don't know what this is. I haven't seen before. KY28. This is encryption. Is this for comms encryption?
No, that's for your carrier landing system, your automated one. That's your radar beacon control.
No, the KY28 is the encryption.
Oh wait, there in the back. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that is the encryption.
Okay, so it's you got turning knobs, but it's not actually modelled in DCS because it is not.
I think it is. Some parts of it is actually.
Seriously?
Yes.
So one thing to note also, by the way, you do have a relay option which allows you, supposedly, I'm not sure whether it's implemented in DCS, to increase the radio range of other aircraft.
Roger.
Or anything else really. The thing under the yellow cover you should never use because that's gonna fuck you up for good pretty much. That's gonna, I think, reset your encryption or something completely, something along those lines.
I think zero is the key, basically making it the zero key. Well, and everyone you want to talk to has to have that same zero key.
Okay. I mean, I noticed there was a KY28 chapter in the manual, but I didn't read it because I assumed it just wasn't. None of this is implemented. So, all right. So just take care not to mess with these knobs, and it's something I haven't covered because I didn't realise till now it was a thing. So. Yay, yet another thing to cover. Okay, well, let's move on because we just don't know about that. Radar beacon. Now, the only thing I know to use this for is the ACLS. But what else is actually... What's a radar beacon, guys? I don't actually know.
I don't actually know what else you could use it for than ACLS, but in theory a radar beacon is something that amplifies and returns a radar signal so that it's really visible. Interesting.
Okay, so maybe we'll get something in the future that demands this, because we've got all these different mode channels and stuff. So, interesting. Oh, I know what it is, guys. I know what it is. You know, ACLS is simply datalink. It's the host taking control of the plane, right? It's the carrier taking control of the plane. Now, in the real F-14, the datalink, if we... I won't bother now, but if you go and check out the AFCS panel in the front... There is the ability for an AWACS to take control of your plane, and he can drive your plane, literally a human driving it with a little joystick. It's going to be something to do with that. This is not modern DCS, obviously, because there's no actual humans in the AWACS in DCS. So I bet it's something to do with that. So they can drive multiple planes in case of, I don't know, all the F-14 pilots have a simultaneous heart attack. So, okay. We've got the ACLS test button, which is glows green when we've got contact with the ACLS and the carrier, and a power and a standby and an off. Lovely. TACAN. Everyone watching this video is going to know what TACAN is by now, but we'll just blast through it very quickly. Master mode, do you want it off? Receive only, transmit receive, air to air, or beacon, and beacon is not a thing. Volume knob. An inverter which has no function, an X or Y. A TACAN will always have an X and a Y. A programmable numeric function, so we can set the code specific with the TACAN. We've got a bit no-go, and that's it. Moving on. Cooling at here. Do we want to call nothing? Do we want to call the AUG-9 radar WCS? Or do we want to call the AUG-9 and the AIM-54 Phoenix missiles? Oh, aren't I good, guys? Look at all the stuff I've learned. Next, we've got an AN ARC 182 radio, which works in a massive band all the way down from 40 up to UHF 399. It's UHF and it's AM and FM compatible only in the UHF band. The rest is automatic, which is actually pretty cool, really. Modes, we've got off, transmit, receive, and guard. Direction finding for ADF and tests. Over here, we've got various controls. Do you want manual mode to set the mode manually? Do you want presets to set presets, which you can set in here or in the mission editor? We can read what preset we're on at the moment, and we can load into another preset. Do you want squelch on or off? Do you want the volume control? And here you can change the freaks and change the brightness. Next, we've got, I'm going to change my camera position. Next, we've got TCS here, and I don't know what MVR is actually, but I guess it's the video. Yeah, it is the video recording section, and radar. So we're going to split our line along there. The lower half here is our TCS, our television camera set. It's the thing in the nose that will display on the TID. Allows us to identify targets visually. We can trim it to our radar antenna line with a maximum of plus or minus 2 degrees deflection, azimuth, or elevation. We can have our relationship between the TCS and the Org9 antenna as TCS slave to radar, vice versa, or fully independent. We can have a field of view of narrow times 10 magnification, wide times 4 magnification, a optical acquisition mode of automatic snap to target acquisition, manual. I can't get that to work, but it's a manual type acquisition for the visual TCS, and auto search, where it searches anywhere outside of the field of view within the 15 to 11 degree slew limits of the TCS. Doesn't appear to work at the moment. I've tested that thoroughly, but let me know what you guys think. Next, we've got the MBR, the recording system. This allows us to record videotape, or whatever was before videotape, cassette tape or magnetic tape, of the TCS. Lovely buttons, but nothing actually does anything here at the moment.
We can turn the recording off.
Yeah, I'm guessing we can't actually record anything, is that right?
I'm not entirely sure. You can actually, in some aircraft, definitely export gun camera footage. But I doubt that works in the F-14.
Roger.
Might do, maybe in the future.
And the reason I'm saying this is because I hover over the button and it says no function, so it makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, technically, it does change the light to red and green, the record one.
There you go.
So it does have a function.
It does have a function. We can change pretty light. Guys, above this, I've never seen it. It's the ejection command lever. What does that actually do? It doesn't eject, does it?
Changes whether the RIO ejects just himself or also the pilot.
Right, I got it. Yeah, fine. Right, next is the radar antenna scan pattern panel. Do we want, it's the gimbaled radar, I mean, technically yeah, okay, fine, not going to go through that. Do we want it stabilized to the horizon as standard, or do we want it stabilized out, which is stabilized to the ADL, the aircraft datum line of the aircraft? We've got the azimuth slew center of the antenna. Do we want to slew the center of the scan zone left or right? Plus or minus 65 degrees. Careful not to hit the bump stops, you will decalibrate your radar. Next, we've got the same thing but in elevation. Center the elevation down minus 74 degrees plus 56 degrees. Or it might be 76 and 54, I've forgotten. Elevation bars. How tall in elevation in degrees, essentially, do we want our scan zone? 2.6 degrees at 1 bar, 11.3 degrees at 8 bars of scan elevation. Azimuth scan width. Do we want a total of 20 plus and minus, 20 azimuth scan, 40 azimuth scan, 80 azimuth scan, 130 degree azimuth scan. VSL vertical scan lock on. This can be this is a ACM mode. It can be commanded by the RIO. It is modal, so you have to press and hold, and it will lock onto a target within certain parameters. Very, very roughly explained. In a vertical scan pattern, low is from roughly ADL up a few degrees. High is 30 degrees above ADL to plus 55 degrees. Very roughly. I've done a proper video on all this, obviously. Right, are you happy with all that?
Are you sure you have to press and hold?
You do. Go and try it for yourself, Star. I remember reading in the manual.
Because it does kind of continuously put you in that radar mode.
Go and try it, Star. All I'm saying is just click your button on that button and it does it. It's because it's spring-loaded. So he has to sit there with his hand on the doodah. Right, next I am moving my here to this, the armament control panel. So, I think I know all this, guys, but stop me if I'm going wrong. What type of weapon do you want to use at this time? It's very analog, very iffy, bit disappointing, but that's just how it is. Attack mode. Do I want target, computer target, computer IP, computer pilot, manual? Fuck, what's DL bomb? Datalink bombing?
Yeah, not implemented.
Okay, just very quickly. TGT is what we'd say is called CCRP in the modern world. IP is something we're going to go through a little bit later, which is very exciting. IP offset bombing. Pilot is CCIP. Manual is manual adjustable depression bombing. Datalink bombing is really sounds really cool, but obviously it's not implemented. Electric fuse, you want it safe, variable timing, an instant fuse, a delay 1 of so many 100 milliseconds, or a delay 2 of so many 100 milliseconds. Delivery mode, do we want it in step, which is single impulse per stores release button press, or ripple, where one press will send several impulses that are configurable? Do we want to drop, with that in mind, do we want to drop single bombs per impulse, or pairs of bombs per impulse? I couldn't actually get pairs working, it was bugged when I tested it, but it should be fixed now. Mechanical fuse on the actual bomb. Do you want a nose crush fuse? Do you want a safe, do you want it safed, or do you want both nose and tail fuses? Air to ground gun. I don't actually know this, guys. What is this mixed off?
It enables the air to ground gun for the pilot, but he's not gonna get a gun pipper when he's in bomb mode.
Yep.
So if he wants to use that as well, he needs to eyeball it.
Yep, Roger. A bit pointless question mark?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's
because
to be honest.
It's not centered to the ADL. It's 3 degrees above the ADL. Alright, so for some reason you might want that. I don't see why you would. I guess you've got traces. Ripple, delivery options, ripple here. How many bombs do I want in my ripple? I want 8 bombs. How many milliseconds between each impulse? I want 8, oh hang on, is it 8 milliseconds or 80? That's 8.
It's 80, you have a 0 to the right if you look.
Yeah, okay, so that's 80, that would be, if it was 8 there would be 800 milliseconds. Right, pylon selectors. To use a bomb, you have to select the pylon, so use any weapon. Use. Oh, hang on. Is it bombs only or any weapon? Bombs only, isn't it?
Air to ground.
Air to ground only. Air to ground only. We have to select the pylons that we want to use. Note that the 1A and 1. No, hang on. That one there and that one there have a bomb, a safe, and a sidewinder option. So just be careful about that, and so we can jettison our sidewinders according to the manual. Also, we've got our fuel tanks to select here, and also if we select certain things, we can uncover this chap and jettison. We can go up to use the jettison method, which are actually, I don't know whether it's explosives or mechanical, but it jettisons them. I think it's explosives. And then if you go down to auxiliary, that uses the non-explosive. It uses just the normal dropping method of the bomb in case the jettison system.
I think the main difference is that the standard jettison, you won't have to uncover it for that, by the way. You can just flip it up anyway.
Oh, no. Have you confirmed this in the manual? Because it says differently. It says these are 2 separate systems.
Well, look, first of all, you won't have to uncover it anyway. I don't usually open it if I just want to jettison the tanks or something. Sure. But from what I remember, what the standard jettison does, it's gonna drop everything in a certain order so shit doesn't collide midair. While if you're using the auxiliary drop, it won't do that for you, so you'll have to kind of drop stuff one by one, which is annoying.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood that. Okay, fair enough. Next, do we want to jettison the weapons? Just the weapons down here, say we've got some racked Mark 82s, or do we want to drop the MERs or the TERs, the actual, what they call pylons, racks that hold the bombs? Okay. I've not seen this. Oh, that's not implemented, whatever that is. Here's coming to a good one, guys, because I've done 50 videos on this plane now, and I've not seen this button. We'll go to it in a minute. First is launch the air-to-air missiles. You can launch air-to-air missiles. You just press it. You don't have to press and hold. Next one, the missile speed gate. I've not found a use for it, and I've not found it mentioned in 370 pages of manual. What is it, guys?
No clue.
I don't know.
Oh.
But looking at it,
you're telling
looks
it.
Like it's.
You're telling it where the hostile is, right? Whether it's heading away from you or towards you.
That looks like.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. How to manage its available energy burst, but
yeah. So you're giving.
Yeah. Could it be maybe for the flood mode for the sparrows?
Well, I mean, I've read it, and it doesn't say anything about that, and it works fine without it. I would think it's AIM 54 territory, this is. You're giving some more information to a self-reliant... For when it goes pitbull, it's got more information. It knows what to look for. Again, it doesn't say that in the AIM 54 section. So, internet viewers, what do you think about this? Because, you know, we've scoured the manual. We can't find any note on this. Anyway, let's carry on, guys. Missile options. Do we want normal? So this would be the normal configuration for all missiles. Do we want Sparrow Pulse Doppler mode, which is a mode with the... I don't think I've got the ability to go through that at the moment, but that is a mode for the Sparrow. Do we want the Phoenix active mode, where it fires the Phoenix and it's either active before it goes off the rails or after? I can't remember which. Can you guys remember? Because there's 5 modes for the Sparrow, for the Phoenix.
I'm pretty sure it's active the second it goes off the rail.
Yeah. And it's useful up to about 10 miles or so.
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got the next launch button. Now, I've not actually found the use for this. Now, the reason is, if I've got 4 guys in with my TWS track, okay, I just press the button, launch button, and it automatically skips to the next guy for me. So why would I have a next launch button?
Basically, if you don't have time to IFF, this is just an example. If you don't have time to IFF, Trackwell Scan will let you shoot a friendly, if you don't mark him as friendly.
Wait.
And then when you do this one, if he's marked as number 1 and you press this one, then the number 2 will get the number 1 number, and then you can basically...
What it does is it sets whatever you currently have hooked as number 1. So, you know, if you want to immediately launch at something that's, you know, not the one that's currently your number 1 in the launch order, you just hook it and you press that button. And, you know, if you then hook...
Yeah.
And so that's actually what you asked about in the in the radar tutorial we did. So if you, for example, wanted to just fire 2 guys that aren't marked at all, you want to just, you know, hook the one that you want to be your number 2, press next launch, then he'll be number 1. Then you hook the other one, press next launch, then that guy will be number 1, and the previous guy will be number 2.
So we've now got the ability to choose exactly who we fire our TWS at. That's what I asked for. I said we have to have it. We have to have it. Okay, well done, boys. Let's just make sure we haven't missed anything on the left, and we have not stuff back there, but it's not anything. Right, let's do flight instruments before we jump to the mighty DDD. So I'm just going to set my track IR up.
I'll be right back.
Roger. Right, we have a backup ADI here, backup artificial horizon. Don't need to say anything about it other than we can cage it and we can adjust it here. We've got our heads-up display for the ARC 182. It tells us we're currently on preset channel 1. We can got a dimmer knob and we can test the digits. Next, we have a speedo/Mach meter here in knots, IAS, and Mach. It is not adjustable. Next, we've got a a servo pneumatic altimeter, guys. Right, so this is where. So I would normally call this a barometric altimeter, but the manual calls it a servo pneumatic altimeter. Is this because it's corrected altitude instead of pure barometric altitude? Stahl, go. Go, Tebro.
I don't actually know what the difference is. What the pneumatic? It's still pressure based.
Yeah, but it serves. It's so the manual states, it makes it very clear that it's corrected altitude rather than barometric altitude. So there's something going on there, I think. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's just hyperbole. But I would like to know, anyone, we don't know obviously, but if anyone out there knows what a servo pneumatic altimeter is, what's different from a standard barometric altimeter, what is this corrected? You know, we haven't got anything. We've got a QFE down here that we can change.
I think it's like manually corrected. So you set in the QFE and then it'll be corrected.
In that case, what's the servo for? Yeah, Roger, I do agree with that. And we've got and what's the thing down at the bottom right? I've seen many of these with this altimeter mode switch, but what does it actually do? I've never understood. I got standby and reset. To reset, we push and hold. Up to 10 seconds to get rid of the standby. But
yep.
Do anyone know what that means? Anyone in the internet world? We just don't know enough about barometric altimeters. What does standby mean? What does reset mean? What does the standby flag mean? It still works fine without the standby. So anyway, I think we've spent enough time on our servo pneumatic altimeter. Well, I'll ask Sean when he comes back. Right, are you ready for the? Oh no. Oh, sure. Servo pneumatic altimeter for corrected altitude. Go.
Yeah, I heard that, but I don't know.
Oh, for 5 minutes.
Regarding your reset thing, I don't know what the point is.
Fine. Total fuel. Nothing to say about that. It's total fuel. Indicator lights here on the right of the field. Does anyone know what they are? I can't remember. Oh, yes, I do. I do. These are RWR warning lights. I can't remember exactly what they are. No, not all of them. Not all of them. Not all of them. Some of them are. Some of them are.
Yeah, so it'll tell you whether something that is currently painting you is a SAM or a fighter or something like that, and also it will tell you when your jammer is emitting, for example.
Yeah. Yep. Well done. Chronometer above. I mean, I can't really get my track eye around that, but we've got a clock wind and a stop. Ooh, hydraulic emergency flight control switch cover. Let's try that again. Hydraulic emergency flight control switch. Wow, how wrong have they got that? That's obviously a stopwatch button, and they've labelled it as hydraulic emergency flight control switch cover. That's funny. Supercap's going to press it.
Where the fuck did you find out?
Bottom right of the chronometer. They just named a switch wrong. It's funny. Anyway, it's just a bit of lols, so let's not dwell on it. RWR, radar warning receiver main display, duplicated in the front cockpit. You all know what one is by now, so we don't need to go over it. And we've got a brightness control. Next, our BDHI, bearing, heading, bearing, direction, heading indicator. It shows our TACAN and ADF. Should I say that better? It's got a TACAN display, which is the one that's wiggling away, and it's got a radio compass for the ADF needle. Are you happy with that, guys?
Yeah, it also shows you things like wind, directional speed, ground speed, and such.
Say what? Really?
Oh, wait, you're talking about... No, sorry, I'm at the wrong thing.
Get with the program, Stahl. It's also got a range there, because TACAN in transmit-receive mode can have a range. Right, we've got the mighty DDD next, guys. I'm going to see how much of this is stuck in my memory. This took me 18 hours to make the video on this, so I should have this seared into my memory. First of all, we've got the central screen, which is our main radar display. Take a note that the TID down below is not a radar display. It doesn't even display radar contacts. It displays computer memory tracks. Anyway, this is a radar display. It actually shows what the radar receiver is receiving once it's been through several filters, depending on what modes we set it in, and processes. Okay, so it's a real-time display. If I press on it, that turns the backlighting off, or the whatever it is for night mode. I thought it was a bug, but it's obviously not. Right, where do we want to start? Let me look around. Okay, we're going to start at the top left, guys. I can't actually read that top one. Target size, whether the target size is normal, small, or large, and that is for STT locks. It can upset an STT lock if you haven't got that set right, even though it says no function. I think it does work. Next, the main lobe clutter filter. Can you remember if that works, guys?
That doesn't say that it's not functional.
It does work, and what that is it means if you're aiming your radar above 3 degrees horizon, then it cuts noise out according to the manual, and that doesn't make sense to me. I think the manual's got it wrong. I think it should cut noise when it's aiming at the ground. So I think that might be a typo. Have you guys got any opinion on that?
Yeah, I've been wondering about that as well, but I agree. It's probably just a mistake in the manual.
No, because obviously the only clutter we want to take out is when we're looking down at the ground. So next we've got our AGC, automatic gain control. This does actually have no function, and parametric doodah, parametric amplifier, does have no function and probably never will. Next we've got a pulse doppler threshold. This will keep Shah happy. How do we explain this, guys? Right, it says no function. It does actually work. These are things. So when we are using our pulse doppler modes on the radar, we need to give it a threshold to tell it. Can you do this, Shah? To tell it how to distinguish between a moving target down low and the ground.
Well, basically, it's just like a sensitivity, basically.
Yes, it's a sensitivity. So we've got a clutter knob. I've forgotten what the clear one is, but the clutter is saying where's the threshold between what is considered clutter and what is considered a moving object, okay? And any of these knobs that say norm, if you put it to the norm, that is automatic mode. It makes it fully automatic. So, okay, that's the best we've got on that. Jam jet is actually an interesting one. It's currently not the function, but it is. Oh, it's not what you think it is. It's a weird one. I've forgotten. But it's not implemented, so it doesn't matter. ACM threshold is not functional at the moment, but it is similar to the PD, but for ACM. Now, I'm not sure whether that's like threshold to lock onto a target. You know, what's a target, what's not a target. I guess it's that same kind of thing, isn't it? Whether it's IR, no, it's radar, obviously. Okay. Has anyone got any more information about those thresholds?
Negative.
CCM is, from memory, and I may have this wrong, but it's anti-jamming, or ways to burn through, beat a hostile jammer. They are currently not implemented, but I think they actually might be at some point. The reason they're not implemented is because jamming in DCS is not modelled correctly. It's modelled by white noise only, modelled by noise only. So none of these would actually have any use. Okay? Next, we've got our radar elevation on the left here. Our actual radar elevation, you can see we're bouncing up and down with our current 8 bars of elevation, or whatever we chose. Here we've got the TV, the TSC, if we're on HCU TCS setting, elevation. And if not, we've then got our commanded elevation center, which is the knob down on the bottom left that we looked at earlier to command the elevation center. On the right, we've got the aspect of the of a single track target. Is he nose, is he beam, or is he tail? And that helps the STT lock make assumptions. Also, it doesn't have to make assumptions. Have you got anything to add to that, Star?
Nope.
I think I've got that right. Pulse gain. This is the actual pulse gain. Gain. How do you describe gain?
Wait. Actually, that's not necessarily for STT locks. That's actually the scale of the DDD. Sorry.
You sure you're not thinking about VC? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right.
The VC compresses it. What the aspect does, if you have it on beam, you have like, I think, plus and minus 1200 knots closure rate that it looks for. If it's on nose, it's plus 1800 and minus 600, and tail is like minus 1800 plus 6.
I remember. Well done, Stahl. Good correction. That's what we call teamwork. Right, next we've got pulse gain. This is the actual gain, and so I know that I think of that as amplification of the radar emission itself. And possibly the receiving as well. So this is the actual radar, not the display per se. Norm is automatic. Erase is a really good one if you've used this radar, and I've used it quite a lot now. The erase is the biggest problem on the pulse, especially on the pulse modes. It's how quickly or how vigorously the erase sweep, which is what follows the B sweep line, erases graphics on the screen. And if you're in pulse mode, it erases them aggressively, and you can't actually get to see them and lock them. So I turn my erase right down to the bottom there in that case. You happy with that, Star? That's pretty much what it does, isn't it?
Yep.
We've got the VC, so the closing velocity scale. So in pulse Doppler mode, which is going to be 90% of your use of this radar, you don't get to see the hostile's range because we haven't applied the FM, the secondary FM ranging signal yet. You get to see their closing speed, which is a bit weird, but that's how it is. And all we can do is change the scale here of the up to down axis from normal, and Stoll may have to quote these, so I can't remember what the normal is. It's 1000, 1200 to something to 1200.
Yeah, and on beam it's plus and minus 1200 knots, I think.
Roger, and then you can times 4, so it's up to like 4000 or 5000 for an SR71. Okay. Let's go to the top. If we're using a pulse mode or a...
There's another mode as well, by the way, if you flip it down, but I forgot what exactly it
yeah,
does.
I remember. No, I can't remember, so that's ACM at the bottom. ACM changes it from 50 to 250 knots closing. So if you're in a dogfight, you've got to remember all this shit, Style, in the heat of the moment. Don't fuck up. Next, if we go above here, if you've got it in a post track, post search, or IFF mode, then here is the range, because you're going to just be displaying range at that moment rather than closing velocity. Here is the range scale, simple as that. When you achieve an STT, have you achieved an antenna track, which you're going to most of the time, it's just the antenna pointing at the target, a radar something track, which you're going to have as long as you've got some sort of STT. I can't remember the exact description of that. A JAT, that's if you're tracking, as best you can, a jamming target. You do something called angle tracking. Can you explain angle tracking, Stoll?
Well, basically you're just going, towards the direction that the jammer is in, but you don't know the range.
Yeah, but I thought it was a little bit cleverer than that. I thought, for instance, it took a note of position of the jammer, then a mile later it took another note, and it used triangulation, I thought, to get a rough estimate of the range. I thought that's what jam angle tracking is, and that's how an AIM 120 can work. Rather than just flying dead at it, we've got a way of interpolating its rough range within plus or minus 70 miles by continuous triangulation. I thought maybe I've got that wrong. Internet guys, let us know, please. That's the best I've got. Next, IROT is just whether you've got an IR track, which actually, it's actually a TCS. It's actually an optical track. That is a legacy system. Just the wording is. It does work. Next, you want the pulse video up or down. So it's literally the video of the pulse lines. Have I described that right? The bits that show elements. I've got no better icons, symbols. There we go. Brightness, the overall screen brightness. Oh, am I doing well, Sean? Next, IR audio. We used to have an IRST sensor on this aircraft in the A model, and here were buttons to control it. It's no longer relevant.
Only the early A model. Even in the A model, they got rid of that pretty quickly for a camera.
Roger. Now here's one that will light your fire, Stahl. This is what I'm really into. We've got transmitter channel and we've got missile channel. I know they don't work, but can you tell me what they are, Stahl?
I have no idea. I just know they don't work, so I didn't look into it.
Here's Super Gap. Okay, so in this aircraft, and I'm not sure whether subsequent aircraft or not, but missiles, AIM-54s and AIM-7s have to be tuned to our particular radar, okay? So before firing them, we have to press a button in the front cockpit which tunes them automatically to our radar signature. Stoll, can you answer why? What does your logical brain tell you why?
Well, so you don't shoot at the wrong target by accident at someone else's painting, but that also means actually that you should be able to kind of buddy radar a missile in.
What, sorry?
Well, yeah, does that actually mean that you could do the equivalent of buddy lasing a bomb?
Yes,
with missiles?
That's exactly right.
Well, you'd have to tune to the other radar, which we at least can.
Okay, yeah. So this isn't for buddy lasing per se, but this is to ensure that we transmit on channel 5, and our missile is also on channel 5. Your next guy next to you is on channel 4, so that we don't get radar conflicts with the missile tuning. Like Tebra said, you'd probably have to actually tune it to your buddies, which you can't do that. But so this is a really interesting piece of history we've got going on now. So obviously in testing, when going out in flights, they found that their radar would stop tracking their own target because it was getting confused by the Orgnine next to us. So that means that each Orgnine must have a individual signature. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Maybe they're even kind of encrypted coded in some way. But anyway, that's really interesting. I've learned loads about aviation through the F-14B. Next, display. Do you want the radar to be displayed or the IR? The IR is not a thing in the Bravo version, so there you go. I wonder if we're going to get the IR in the A version. Interesting. Next.
Nope. Probably not, because again, it's only early A version that had it.
Interesting. Okay, fine. IFF, you press and hold it, and I've got a whole video on this, so I don't need to talk about that. Pulse modes, I've got a whole video on this. Do you want a pulse doppler SCT, a pulse SCT, a pulse doppler search, a range while scan, a track while scan auto, track while scan manual, a pulse search, and a barrel here showing what kind of block you've got, or what kind of search you've got, including optical and other. Okay, guys, happy with the DDD. Now we're going to jump down to the TID. This is actually pretty simple. So what we're displaying here, if I zoom out, I've got nothing here, is you can see our radar there, big wide, it's set to 130 degrees. If our radar picks up a hostile, especially in track while scan mode, it does not show them on this TID here. It places them into memory into a 8088 Intel processor, and that saves them as track files on the hard disk, on the tape, on the cassette tape. And each of those tracks is then displayed here. Those tracks can also come from datalink, and those tracks can be also navigation based. And here's where we view our tracks, and it's very, very good and useful, isn't it, chaps, for your situational awareness. Really good stuff. Yep. As well as that, we're not going to go through this, but you can do all sorts of other stuff in your TID. You can do your navigation, and you can set other variables and stuff up. But That's the TID, Tactical Information Display. Here are our nav modes. Do we want our navigation system off? Do we want it for ground alignment? Do we want it for CV, carrier alignment, of which there are various versions? Do we want it for catapult alignment, of which there are various versions? Do we want it a basic INS inertial navigation system, the ARL92? If that fails, then we can go to our secondary mode, our IMU-AM, and this is all model, by the way, which is a slightly degraded version of the primary INS. The IMU stands for Stahl. The
inertial measurement unit.
Inertial measurement unit. That is the actual box of gyros, the shoebox of gyros that feeds information to the INS system. And this is all linked in with our WTS. Everything. It's all linked into the INS. If the IMU were to have a failure or to be degraded to a point, we would have to switch to our third backup mode, which is our AHRS. Tebro, what does it stand for?
Oof, I don't actually know.
It is, oh god, a something heading reference set. Something heading reference set.
Angle heading.
Damn, that's so frustrating.
Altitude, yeah, angle heading altitude or altitude and angle.
Reference set, something like that, yeah. So if you had failure, then all the way down to this, and at this point, yeah, you're pretty much RTB. You can do basic weapons delivery with this, but yeah, that's your emergency essentially, and that's it. You got a ready standby. If it's standby, then the INS is standby. If it's ready, the INS is ready. You've got a contrast of knob for this. You've got a brightness knob for this, for night mode. On the right here, you've got your steering drum indicator. This is showing what the pilot has got selected for his steering command. Here we've got our steering destination choice. Waypoint 1, 2, 3. Oh, FP guys.
Fixed point.
Fixed point, and we're going to be using fixed points tomorrow. IP, our initial point. Our ST, our surface target. Our home base, or our manual, which actually means our hostile area. Not a hostile area, our defended point. We've got a button on the right here which says collision steering. This gives steering information which overrides any other destination steering information to the pilot to set a collision course for the STT selected target. Or it might be the hook target, I can't remember. Probably the hook target. Next we've got this guy over here. This is the TID track hold. A normal track will last 14 seconds since last track while scan update. At that point it is erased from the cassette tape. If you press this, that time extends to 2 minutes before it is erased from the cassette tape, but the track will just stay still. It won't actually do anything. Next, what do we want to display? Ribbon display doesn't do anything. Altitude, do we want to display the altitude on the targets? Do we want to display the actual element symbols themselves? Do we want to display datalink targets? Do we want to display jammer strobes? You know what a jammer strobe looks like by now if you're into DCS. Do you want to display some targets that we've marked in the CAP for non-targets, as non-targets? Do you want to display the vector, the velocity vector of an aircraft, i.e. the speed and the direction, or do you want to display the launch and or do you want to display the launch zone, which is weapons ranging timing information? TID mode, do you want it stabilised to the ground rather than our aircraft with north facing in the 12 o'clock position? Do you want aircraft stabilised where it's follows our aircraft instead of the ground with the 12 o'clock position of the aircraft shown in the 12 o'clock of the TID? Attack is exactly the same, but with certain... I never really got my head around that. What's the difference between the attack mode? It's got certain navigation information that I don't understand.
Well, first of all, it gives you kind of a horizon line, which is nice for situational awareness, but what's more interesting, when you put something into STT, it gives you an ideal angle to fire.
Oh.
Some additional symbology on both the TID and the DDD, actually.
Do you know what the circle's called that you have to aim into? ASC, it's the ASE, the something steering error, the allowable steering error. And you have to get your steering cue into this ASE. That's the same with all planes from the Tomcat onwards, which is an interesting piece of trivia. TV, do you want the feed from the TCS, which is actually quite cool on the ground? I'm looking at a tree. And or do you want the lantern pod? Range of the non-TV in hundreds of miles from, in this case, us to there. Pretty good, guys. Next, the HCU. Do you want the HCU stick to control the TID cursor on there, in which we could go like this? excuse me, the DDD cursor for locking targets on the DDD. No, sorry, that's wrong. What's the DDD cursor for? The radar is for the DDD locking targets. The DDD cursor is for...
you can lock things on the DDD as well, if you're in full scan or something.
No, you're not listening, Charles. Radar, RDR is for locking targets with on the DDD.
Oh,
DDD cursor is something different.
The radar will directly slew the radar around. So if you do first stage trigger, and then just move the stick left and right, you'll see it starts to slew.
We've got a difference of opinion there, Star.
Why?
Because I remember from my teachings, the TID cursor is the TID. I remember what it is now. The DDD is for ground radar, which I haven't done yet as well. I had for ground radar mapping. DDD cursor is for ground radar mapping. The RDR is for slewing the cursor about and locking targets on the DDD. I can do it now. Look, slew, but it's not changing my antenna direction. It's not changing my antenna direction.
Are you sure? Have you looked at your TID?
Oh, Star's right. Well done, Star. That shuts Supercap up. Right.
But you can also use the DDD thing if you're in a pulse surge to lock things up. So if you click pulse surge and then go first action.
Yeah.
Or half action it is, sorry. You then have to crosshair on DDD. You can move around.
But it is actually moving the antenna as well, which is interesting. Okay, fine.
That's the DDD mode now. The radar mode's different. If you go to DDD mode and pulse surge, you'll get a crosshair over the entire DDD basically when you go half action.
You can't lock targets with that, Charles. That is for ground referencing. It specifies in the manual.
Pretty sure you're supposed to be able to, but it's not like I've used it much.
We're going to have to agree to disagree, and that's something I've got to cover at some point. February. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. This is the TV. This is power to the TCS. If the TCS is overheating, that's a light there. I'm going to have to kind of lean over. I can't remember what that light is. I can't remember. That's the one we're going to skip. Anyone in front of the HCU? There's a light there. It's the power reset button. The light. Yeah, I remember power reset light, and then to power and reset, you press that button there. Hence, I don't actually press it. Here,
the left-hand light, I think it's just a system test. If you press the LGMT or light test, but
no, Charles, I can outdo you here. The one on the left is actually the overheat for the TCS.
Oh yeah, you're right. My bad. Yeah,
the middle one, the light test is literally just press it and all the lights come on. The middle one is the power reset indicator, and the power reset command button is on the right. The standby button for the the WTS, the radar, is on the right, and then forward is transmit. Oh, sorry, I should say for the organ line and weapons control system, we're off, standby, and transmit. That's where the radar is actually transmitting and frying people's brains. Right. You know what? This is actually really easy, Star. I never thought it'd be so, but it is good fun. Would you agree with that, Star?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Calibrate jettison handle. Do not pull it. End. This one's been the bane of my existence. This here is a repeater for the HSD in the cockpit while on nav mode and in destination mode. In the manual it says it's something completely different. In the manual it says we've even got a separate command panel for this. So go figure. I think there's a bit of correlation difference between the A and the B model maybe, but that's literally all this is. At the moment at least. We can test it and we can turn the brightness up and down. We've missed a bunch of indicator lights on the right of the TIT. Anything you want to add to those, Star? I've never even looked at them.
Well, it's just going to tell you things. If your missile cooling's off or your radar cooling's off, you're going to get warning lights there. Or if your nav system has trouble, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's actually right. There's something I'm going to start on tomorrow's mission is INS system degradation, and those warning lights are down there on the bottom right, so we need to keep an eye on them. Right, that's that. Now we're going to slew to the right. Okay, I've got to kind of lean over a bit. Right, let's see how far I get on my own. Here we have the radar warning receiver panel. We can have its priority mode change from normal, which is a normal set of priorities, to air target priority, AAA priority, unknown priority, or I can't read that. Fielded? Stand by. Friend priority on the RWR. Forgotten offset and limit. I don't think they do anything. Oh, no, they do. Yep.
Does. If you hold offset, it's gonna separate symbols on the RWR if it gets close.
Yep, that's exactly right. So it separates their azimuth, limits it to, I think, 5 priority targets from memory. Volume is the actual audible volume of the system. Power on or off, and you've got a test bit there. Let's try and get back down. We've got the DCM here, the onboard jamming system. Oh, it's the first thing I covered, and let's see if I can remember it. Have it off, we can have it standby. We can have it on our test, which is hold for 3 seconds and then act. We can have it on receive only, in which case it receives, computes, but does not transmit. And RPT, which really should say XMIT, according to the manual, where it transmits noise to jam hostile radar. Next, we've got whether you want it off and what audio volume you want it, because it makes noises, which doesn't seem to work for me, depending on what kind of signal radars are painting us. And now we get some interesting stuff, Shah. The frequency in hertz of that noise is ratioed but proportional to the PRM of that radar. So if it's a low grumble, then it's a ground radar.
You mean the PRF?
Yes, what did I say? PRF.
PRM. Anyway.
PRF, pulse ref different frequency. It will be a low growl, and if it's a airborne target, it'll be beep because it's a high PRM. Do you know why that is, Star?
Why it is that, or why it repeats it like that?
No, why a SAM would have a low PRF and vice versa, and an air target would have a high PRF.
Not in detail now.
No, and neither does CAP. So if anyone out there knows what that is, that would be a next interesting area of study. Next, we have an ANAEL39. This is our direct control panel for our countermeasures, and it's complicated as balls. So we're just going to simplify it quickly. We can have it off, we can have it on manual mode where we control it only, or manual and auto where we control it and the RWR system can control it. We've got quantities of our chaff, our flare, and our jammer, not pods, expendables, cartridges, which are not modeled in DCS. We can shoot them in single, standby, or we can shoot a program. Single, program, single, program. We've got a flare mode with the pilot option. The pilot, with one press of his countermeasure button, will launch one flare. We've got normal mode, in which case the pilot can now only launch one chaff. And the RIO can launch with one press of his single flare button, one flare or multiple. This is where it gets complicated. In which case, one press of the single button from the RIO for the flare launches as many quarters of flares that we've got loaded. We can have up to 4 quarters loaded. If we want to jettison the flares, we can jettison them. We go to the on position and hold. That will jettison 1 times flare every 0.125 seconds. Next, we've got our ANAEL39. It's the same thing, but this is the setup panel. Here's where we set up our program. We're not going to go into detail. I've got a full 20-minute video on this. Here's where we set up our chaff program.
I also don't think you actually have to hold the jettison switch forward, by the way. From what I remember, you just flick it and it'll jettison everything anyway.
I'm slightly worried it doesn't have a cover on it. You'd just catch your sleeve on that if that was me. Yeah. Flares program simpler on here. The jammer cartridges that are not implemented there, and the 4 quarters. The countermeasures are split up in 4 quarters in the F-14, L10, L20, R10, R20. You've got to set them manually here, whether they are chaff or flare. They're not quite fully working at the moment, March 2019, and we can reset when we hold this for 5 seconds when we are reprogramming the quarters. Data/ADO switch currently not implemented. There's a good chance this will be implemented, so don't ignore the switch down at the bottom here. Next, I'm going to move my screen again. Okay, we've got our DDI, our detailed data indicator. I think I may have that wrong. Here, I've never actually really seen it working. In fact, let's go to our light test and see what's actually on there. Oh, it just doesn't work at all. So there you go. Don't know. Can't help. Apparently it's something to do with datalink. We can send messages to the E3 Sentry and stuff like that, but I've never seen it working. I've not managed to get it working. I don't think it's working at this time. Next are 2 panels for the datalink. Do we want to test the data link? Do we want it in normal configuration? Do we want it anti-jamming? Anti-jamming does not work. Here we can change our megahertz of the signal of the channel for the data link, whether in link 4A or link 4C. Down here, I'm going to have to maneuver myself. Got a switch. Do we want it on? That is link 4A. Middle is off. Down is link 4C. Data link, next data link, antenna and something panel. Do we want different antenna selections for the data link, but it doesn't actually work in DCS? Do we want it on transmit and receive or receive only? Doesn't work in DCS. Here is the address, the name of our aircraft in a link 4C fighter-to-fighter transmission. Do we want it on Keynes mode for carrier referencing and cable information acceptance of waypoints, or tactical mode for everything else? Light panel, instrument light panel, console light panel. You know what I mean, you know what I'm saying here. Do you want the floodlights? They don't currently work in the RIO. And do you want the red? Oh, the red floodlights do work in the RIO.
Yeah, I do think you do, yeah.
They've never worked on CAP. It must be my video card or something. Next, it's going to be IFF, isn't it, Star?
Yeah, that's basically that big and the small panel behind it is all IFF, which isn't really implemented. You can play with the switches, but it's not going to do anything. Yep,
so there's not really anything to say about that. This is not implemented. More IFF. That's not implemented. That's not implemented. None of that's implemented. I noticed there's some things on the side shelf. Can you see what I'm saying? That. Oh, that's the position for the canopy, is it? No, what is that?
I'm sorry, what are you looking at?
I don't know how to describe it. Above what we're looking at is a shelf. Closer to
you mean the hooks?
No, not the hooks. Just below the hooks, there is a little plaque with some words on. Do you see the plaques?
Okay, yeah, I do see that.
What is that? Boost, close, hold, open, auxiliary open. I don't actually know what. I never found what that is.
Wait. Are we looking at the same thing? Where exactly are you looking?
Look at the hooks and then go down 2 inches. And you'll see a long, thin, black plate.
Okay, yeah.
5 screws. What is that?
Looks like it would be some kind of canopy mode.
Oh,
canopy
yes.
Opening and closing mode.
Yeah, I've just seen it says canopy on it, so yeah, okay, fine.
This has, I think, was a pressurized air or something to open it. It might maybe have some.
I think it might be legacy style. I think it might be legacy. Because I bet there was a handle there or something that you could pull back.
Probably. I mean, you'd have boost would probably be basically open. Close would be close, hold, leave it in the current position.
Yeah.
Or there's a separate open thing there. Aux open would be a backup system, I suppose. Not sure what the boost then is specifically, but
yeah, I thought maybe for cockpit pressurization or something. That's what I could think of. But all right, fine. It's a good thing to point out that a lot of the stuff here is legacy from the the F-14A, because a lot of these were converted directly from A models, and they just couldn't be bothered to get rid of them.
Well, there's also stuff in there that was intended to be implemented, but never was implemented, or was only briefly in there, like the RSD. They just decided, it's kind of shit, so let's put the camera in.
And we'll bucket load more circuit breakers there. Not something Cap's ever going to want to touch. Right, are you happy? Oh, we've got the master arm for the ejection seat. Can you think of anything else, Stahl? I can't think of anything else.
Mirror, maybe, but I think that's about it.
Oh, Cap doesn't have mirrors. Where would the mirror be? Oh, I do. It doesn't work for me, a mirror. Right.
You need to press M to enable the mirror. That also enables the mirror on the pilot's frame, by the way. You can
I've never
see
seen
those.
that. How interesting, Stahl. Very good, very good. Right, I hope that helps. That was actually pretty impressive. I hope the pilot is that easy, but we'll have to see. Anything else to add before we sign off, Stahl?
Negative.
Alright, thanks for watching. See you later.